Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blue Abroad. Bringing the energy today. I am one of the hosts, Pommy and Oz, and I've got the eloquent, magnificent, nay, fabuloso. I've got Mr. Leckdog with me, my co-host. How are you doing, Leckdog?
Fantastic, mate. It's a short week because of Easter, but it's felt like a long one. So it means it's the end of the week's here when you and I get to talk footy in front of all these wonderful Blue Abroad fans. Excited to be here. Excited for tomorrow's game. An Arvo game on a Friday. It doesn't happen too often for us, Pom.
Mate, it's a privilege, nay an honour, nay a distinction to do this with you, my friend. Chat is flowing in. We've got a Friday game because of Easter. We've got Billy, Daz, Lewis, Lucinda, Big Clarence is in chat. Dial, if I've massacred that, I apologise. The team isn't in. The team is in 20 minutes, or if you watch 7 News, probably it was 2 days ago, and we don't know. Christian saying honey time. Let's talk about team selection. We've got to be really, really honest about it. If you actually break it down, really, there's no change. It's going to be always out because of injury. Akers, because the AFL doesn't understand that if you're normal size, it's hard to avoid someone that can't ride a roller coaster. So there's going to be 2 changes minimum. Obviously, no Walsh, which we can't count. You can't count Jack Martin because he wasn't out, and you can't count Kennedy because he missed last week. So I think, what are we thinking the changes, chat? Put some money on it. Who are the changes? Let's get straight into it. Leckdog.
It's an interesting one. Look, I think it's time for hashtag plow in. Bring him back. Lockie plow. I wouldn't actually, if we didn't have forced changes, I wouldn't be surprised if Lockie Cowan got rested for a week, just because I think that's what good managing is for those first year players. But yeah, I mean, you tell me, Pom, is it time for your boy? Is it Paddy Dow time?
Hashtag Dow in. Well, I mean,
Dow in, plow in.
It could be. I'm going to stick my neck on the line, right? Stick my neck on the line. And I would say that if we're doing horses for courses, which I don't think there's any need to change the makeup of the side, I would say that Honey, whether you like it or not, has to come in because he played Owi's role and he played Durden's in pre-season. So I'd say he's probably first in line because he's been given that responsibility in pre-season. And I would say that it would be a fight between Binns and Mr. Lobb. Now, Lobb, interesting. I personally think last week probably let himself down, played most of the game.
For sure.
Binsey has been solid, and I would say Binsey has a huge advantage over Lobb in the terms of massive development from juniors to now in the way that he defensive craft in the VFL. So I think it's probably like for like in the terms of that he likes that. So it'd be an interesting one. But I mean, then again, like I've done this team selection with you way too long to say logic goes out the window. I mean, it could be Plowman and Dow in. And I'm going to have to try and clamour for 10 minutes going, what the fuck have we just done there? So a lot of people giving Binns and Plow love and Chills is. Bam Bam is ruled out of this one, mate. Chincotta is a name that he's doing the Mitch McGovern role in the VFL, which is very interesting. Very interesting for those who follow VFL. Cunners after a quarter, if that happens, I'll stick my neck on the line now. I'll cry.
Well, so interesting. Matt Owies is coming out of the side. He's injured. I think when him and our other small forwards, names are escaping me right now, Durden and Motlop are on the team, they look really good. But often we've seen when one of them comes out, they don't look as amazing. So what does it mean? Does it mean we have to play Fisher as that permanent forward, which I don't love? In fact, I'll say this, I don't like it at all. And is Fish staying in the side, Pom? I know you said we would probably go in relatively unchanged, but he's one player who I think's in some really, really poor form at the moment. And I mean, I'd be happy to see him have a spell in the twos.
Definitely. I mean, I think this week, if I was coach, which I'm not, but if I was coach, I was picking this team, I would look that you've got 2 weeks probably without Owies. When they say 1 for 2, I always look at the back end of that and say it's 2 weeks. I would say now's the time with Honey playing them specific roles. With specific roles it was Durden Owies' role throughout, and Voss did touch on this, that he's waiting for his opportunity. He's got to take it. He's got to take it. So I would say 2 weeks. Fisher probably is due dropping. He was shocking preseason. Aside from the Geelong game, he's been poor throughout. Give them 2 weeks and say effectively you're playing for one role. And if you play your cards right, we don't bring Owies back. And I think now's the time. I think that's... People forget Cottrell was... This time last year, people were saying Cottrell shouldn't be on the list. He's pants. And then he came on as the sub and was arguably one of our most consistent performers. I think when you're a small in VFL, watching a lot of VFL, it doesn't translate in the first because their role is dependent. It's like Kemp. People are slagging Kemp off, but Kemp is playing the third toll role with no recognised tolls. Honey is feasting off 2 baby key forwards or Ben Crocker, who wouldn't play key forward in the AFL, shows you the standard of the VFL. So for me, them 2 come in and you give them 2 weeks and you say, go, go, go. Because Cunners, he played 40 minutes in the VFL. He's probably due, but you'd be mental bringing Cunners in after 40 minutes. Like, you might as well delist him now. For me, Cunners shouldn't get a game at Carlton until the bye and give him the best opportunity to say, because people forget this kid's nearly 27. So for me, them 2 there, give Honey and Owies 2 weeks and let's wait and see what happens. And worst case, Owies takes over one of their jobs.
Could we see David Cunningham as a sub potentially or on that emergency list? I'm with you. I'd give him way more time to get his body right. But maybe he's one of those guys where they're so worried about him getting injured and they just go, well, the difference between his worst and his best isn't that much. Maybe we just throw him in and have a crack.
Well, he's 20. Like I say, he's 27 at the start of next year. So if he does sign on again, this is my argument with him, right? This is my argument with him. Every time Carlton have an injury, it's people say, oh, Cunners is potential. You can't talk about Cunners' potential anymore. 27 at the start of next year, you've won a Brownlow. You've won a flag. You're talking.
Yeah, it's literally your peak.
Cunners has to come in and hit the ground running. So there is no way on God's green earth after 650 games, 650 days without playing, he's going to be ready till the bye. Till the bye. You saw it the first quarter. He was good. He fell off it. Give him the best chance. Give him the best chance because he is best 22 should he play, right? And when he's fit, there's no doubt about that. But my argument is this guy's on his last legs. On his last legs. On his last legs. So for me, Honey's it because this is my issue. And I don't know, we'll digress. The VFL is Mickey Mouse at the moment, in my opinion, because Dowie's been the primary ball user, never playing first that role. Never playing first that role. It's obvious the club have him 7th, 8th, 9th in the pecking order, right? So for me, Carroll should be that primary ball user because he's still got years to run on his contract. The next one is, with Dow, where's the problem position? I would personally say 9 months high half forward and say, look, we're not keeping you on. You ain't in our midfield plans. We're going to give you 9 months to maybe break in, but end of the year, see you later. But Honey is that guy who's got probably 9 months left of his AFL career. So he has to play. He has to play. And for me, the VFL, watching so much junior sport and VFL, tell you, small forwards never stand out in the VFL because their job is to apply pressure off their tolls. We've got 2 very, very childlike tolls. Last year, they had Crocker and Cripps is nowhere near VFL standard. Nowhere near Josh Cripps is. So, for me, we're never going to see 2 weeks, play him in. Hopefully, Cunners gets himself right, puts it. Binsy's fine. I just think this is the time, man. This is the time.
Let's talk. Let's continue talking forward line. Let's talk Harry Mackay, and I'll put it bluntly, he's been pretty bad this year. He's had some moments where he's gone behind the ball and taken some strong marks. He's been pretty good up the ground taking those marks. But in terms of being a forward target and, 2 years ago, a Coleman medalist, he's been disappointing. Is this an opportunity without Griffin Logue and without Ben Mackay and with a pretty depleted back line for the Kangaroos? Is this an opportunity for him to come out and go, hey, remember me? I'm going to kick 10 goals.
Under the roof, I'd love to know what chat think as well. Under the roof, perfect conditions. Yep. Why not? Why not? Because, at the end of the day, the way I see it with Harry, absolutely mental. Like, whatever the AFL media are smoking, maybe at 4:20, that's why they've picked the game. Because last year, when you look at Harry and Charlie, and let's just discuss this. I'd love chat's opinion and yours, like dog. Being called a rooster and saying that it doesn't work in the forward line, absolutely bizarre statement. When you actually look at these guys, they are ranked as a pairing number 2 in the comp behind Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins. And what scares me is actually, if you look at reality, it's all good being mythical and say everyone has an opinion, like everyone has a bottom. We all sit on it. Sometimes people should sit on their opinions. I'm a firm believer opinions aren't for everyone. But last year, conspiring for 5.6 goals, 12 score involvements a game between them, you're talking at the second best rated forward duo. And based on, let's be honest, you're basing our key forwards on 3 games. 1 game, Carlton changed their setup to offset Richmond. One game was in poor forward conditions, which Charlie dominated. No one's talking about Tom Hawkins because he did nothing like Harry did against Geelong. In fact, Harry was a better player. And then in the third game, but every forward, the only goals that were kicked were junk time out the back goals by Keys. So you're basing it on 3 games that aren't really structurally good for Keys. They are absolutely top players. Top players. Yeah. And let's be honest, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, the idea that they can't play next to each other, I think, is absolute craziness. I think that's just clickbaity stuff. I want him to improve. I think he will, but I don't think the reason that he's struggling is because Charlie Curnow's there. Would I like him to stop trying to mark each other's balls every time? Yes, I would like that to stop, but the issue is more with delivery and stuff. So, yeah, I'm not worried. And it's the perfect game. Like, to be undefeated heading into round 4, to have question marks in the media over your 2-year ago Coleman medalist, and to be coming into an undermanned North Melbourne defence under the roof, perfect conditions. If you can't do it tomorrow, maybe we'll have this conversation again, but I'm expecting a real bounce back from Harry tomorrow. And I think that those averages are going to jump right back up, Pom, because I think they're going to kick sort of 12 goals between them, or there's potential for them to kick 12 goals between them.
I mean, you know what's going to happen, don't you, chat, as well? Like, I know that you all believe in Harry, like I do, that if Charlie kicks 10, like Bugs Bell's saying, and Harry kicks 2, we're going to hear, oh, Harry's not right. Harry's gone. Charlie's surpassed him. It beggars belief. But I mean, at the end of the day, I tell you what, key defenders don't want to play Harry. And I actually think what you're seeing is a development because one of them gets you. One of them gets you. And I hope Harry kicks 10 tomorrow, even over my boy Charlie. But at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? This year, we've seen Smalls kick goals. Mids are chipping in with goals. And, you know, I'd love the media to answer me this. And this is the same as with Collingwood. They always find excuses to downplay both of our clubs. And there's always problems. If you look statistically, I can find you 1,000 problems with every football club from an analytical point of view. But you know what pisses me off, right? When Carlton improved their goal spread, they should be talking about, oh, Durden, Motlop, Owies, they were criticising didn't kick goals last year. He's had, 4 in 2?
Yeah.
Right. Start giving the kudos elsewhere because before it was, oh, Carlton rely on Cripps. Carlton rely on Harry and Charlie to kick goals. Now, they're not. It's like, Carlton are cooked. Like that article the other day, Charlie had 40, Patrick had 40 touches, lowest rated Champs data ratings there from 40 touches. The same media that said Tom Mitchell doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you're there, Pom. I think one of us is lagging out.
But
So I'm
the
just,
last
oh,
two
there you are.
clubs
You're back.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. But Harry and Charlie will smash it next week.
Yeah, mate. I think they'll have a big game. I was excited by Motlop, and I thought Durden last week was really solid. The pressure he applied around the ground, the tackles he had. We had a lot more contributors tackling inside 50. We probably need those numbers to increase, but I thought the forward line was good. And then defense, I think our defense is probably, I think we talked about this last week maybe, so we might not need to talk about it too much, but I think they're probably being sort of undervalued on what they've done this year. I think our defense has been really, really solid as a collective.
It has been. It has been. And I think one of the big highlights for me is if you watch the games this year, is how Carlton have started to develop its transition system. And I think that's a big way that we can defend and hurt North Melbourne going into this. People have slated Carlton's transition defence, but it's interesting to note that Carlton are actually ranked top 10 in transition defence this year, and they've played two of the biggest sides at transition goals, and they've also ranked 9th in scores from transition defence, but have played two of the more prudent transition defence sides, and we're playing a side with a top 5 goals against in transition defence, and this is going to be a game, I think, where you're going to see Harry and Charlie based on the back of our transition. I think this is the game where Sardi, Doc get that early ball into inside 50 and they have a day out. And it's all set up. Limited back line from North, limited, Jai Simpkin maybe a little bit underdone. I've seen on Carlton Twitter, everyone's scared of him. Evidently he's prime Judd. But this is the week here where Carlton are going up against, they've played two of the best contested sides and beat them. They're now playing a side that is vulnerable here. And I know Clarko's a genius, but Clarko is not holding a genius team, and they haven't played anyone of note yet. This is the time that we stamp out, and this is a 20-point minimum result.
I think it should be. The battle will be sort of in the midfield. I think that's where their best traits are at the moment. LDU will come back. He was a laid out. Simpkin will come back. They've got Todd Goldstein as that senior body ruckman, but we should be able to, with the duo of Pito and Tom DeConnick, jump over him by the end of the game. I think our more senior-bodied midfield should stand up through the rigors of the entire game, and I think eventually it might be tight for the first couple of quarters, but I would hope that we end up sort of breaking away, as you said, through that transition defense and then finding the tools up forward. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's game. I think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a good indicator of what the system actually looks like, sort of on a blank slate, right? Because we've come up against a couple of teams that are good at playing against their opponents. I don't think North are quite the same level, so it'll be good to see what it's like, hopefully on our terms and what we can do. And another week back into George Hewitt, who probably shouldn't have had to play last week, but he did. So yeah, look, I'm really pumped for tomorrow's game.
You know what? I love you, Shane. Mate, love you. You see, spot on. And this is why stats and analytics are so important, right? Because when I make videos, I try and answer the opposite from what the stats say. So I work backwards and go, why? And this is spot on. It's easy. I watched on the couch and I actually pissed myself laughing because the stats they were complaining about Carlton, one of them was a ball movement stat, which is one of the most bizarre stats anyway. It's a very complicated stat. But it was, no one wanted to answer that Carlton's ball movement has changed two of the games because they had definite structural changes to offset opposition, which is very common. Last year, a few sides who played Richmond early were bottom 4 for that stat and then changed it and went back to top 4, top 5. And it's like, if you leave stuff out, it's stupid. It's stupid. But the teams are floating through. Josh Honey is a name that I'm seeing reported is definitely in, which makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Which makes sense purely because he's the next small in line and he's been deputising that role. So thoughts chat on Honey while we just try and get some confirmation. I know Juddy F1 will be stoked with that.
Honey, look, he's the next one in, as you said, and that's the beauty of the list at the moment, is that in a lot of places where we used to not have that next player in the position available, we do have one here. Played in the preseason, he wasn't amazing, but he has some senior football behind him, so all the power to him. And you couldn't really ask for. I'm talking about North like they're terrible. I don't think they're good. But you couldn't ask for a better setup in terms of the ground. The roof's going to be closed. It's a day game. Yeah. What more can we ask for?
I'm with you. And I think it's really important as well is that you've got to look at it this way, that I hate it when I see things like danger game for this game.
Oh,
right?
No.
And because, Dangerous is getting on a destroyer to half cross the channel to then jump on an amphibious vehicle and storm a Nazi-occupied beach in the north of France. That's dangerous. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
This is a mild inconvenience game. But end of the day, and I did a wonderful interview with Anna today, who's a Geelong fan, and she's an analyst herself, and she was talking about, going into games, you should be thinking about how to win games the way you play. That is so important. And for me, she's spot on. We should be going in there. And the teams have been announced. Blake Acres is out. Matty Owies is injured. Josh Stewart, Honey, comes in. So the teams will be full back line, Sam Doherty, Jacob Wheaterin, and Lachlan Cowan. Half back line, Nick Newman, Lewis Young, Adam Sard, with the centre line being your wingman, Lockie O'Brien and Ollie Hollands. Patrick
so O'Brien stays in, Pom.
What?
O'Brien stays in as the sub from last week. That's the replacement for Akers.
Zach Fisher, Charlie Kerner and Motlop, Corey Durden, Harry Mackay, Silvani, TDK, Adam Cherra and Ed. Interchange bench will be Pitternet, McGovern, Hewitt and Honey, with the emergency and sub coming from one of these four miscreants: Lockie Plowman, Chin Cotter, Patrick Dow, or Mr. Jack Carroll.
Well, all the names we talked about before at the start of the stream. So one of them's going to play a game of senior footy this week, which is good.
It's going to be good. So, I mean, looking at that team chat, and Dog, give me your initial thoughts and give me your score prediction and we'll do something different this week. What will On the Couch complain about when Carlton win by 35 goals? What will be their takeout to complain about? That's your chat.
All right. So I think we're going to win by 28 points. I think, I reckon, I don't know how to split them. I think Harry or Charlie, one of them is going to be best on. They're going to kick a bag. I think On the Couch are going to complain about, I think there's going to be some argy-bargy in the midfield, and Paddy Cripps or George Hewitt are going to make fun of or mock one of the smaller North Melbourne midfielders, and it's going to be, oh, that's a bad look. They're just a developing team. You can't be doing that to them, despite the fact that we had years of people doing that to us. I think, you can't have a Brownlow medalist bloody talking down to a second-year player. It'll be something like that. I am interested to see what we do with Harry Sheasel, who's been an absolute bloody jet for them playing in defence for North Melbourne. He was an early draft pick this year. There's been talk will we bother tagging him? I imagine Ed will put some attention into Luke Davies-Uniacke. Actually, we should get the North team up and just confirm who's in and out for them. I'll do that, Pom. You can fill for a sec.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing is we're looking through here. I think Carlton will win by 41. And I think the On the Couch boys will complain about... I reckon they will complain about... It'll be a new thing, this. It'll be, how does Carlton's midfield work when Walsh is in there? Because Cherra's not a halfback or a winger, and he has to play on the ball. So Carlton have one too many players. Who goes forward, and they will be complaining that Carlton have too much depth in that position. It'll be a new thing. And Gary will probably, knowing him, will pick out a stat, and the stat will be Carlton conceded 23 inside 50s. However, Nick Larkey managed to kick 5 goals, 1. Is Carlton's his defence vulnerable?
Yeah. So I'll go through the North Melbourne lineup. In comes Luke Davies-Uniacke, Jai Simpkin, Darcy Tucker, Aidan Bonner. Out goes Daniel Howe, Hugh Greenwood, Griffin Logue, Josh Goda. They line up Bergman, Bonner, Core. In the back line, halfback, Zeeble, McDonald, Scott. Centre line, Powell, Cunnington, Tucker. Half forward, Stevenson, Comben, Sheasel. That's interesting. Forward line, Zerha, Larkey, Curtis. On the ball, Goldstein, Uniacke, Simpkin. On their interchange, they have Curtis Taylor, Liam Shields, Kane Turner, and Will Phillips. So Kane Turner will probably play as a tagger on someone. And they got a stronger team this week than they did last week, with the exception, if the question, can they stand up without Griffin Logue? Is Aidan Bonner good enough to stand up without Griffin Logue? Probably not, or hopefully not. But yeah, it's an interesting lineup for them.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, to answer your question about Sheasel, I mean, Sheasel's year 1 day costs first 5 rounds, where he's playing off high half back. He's getting lots of time. Genuinely, do you know what I mean? Though you look, what he does is he attacks the corridor. Carlton, if Carlton are worried about Sheasel tearing us apart, I'll tell you that. And if anyone is, tell you what, forget 8, forget top 12. That's bottom 6 mentality. Do you know what I mean? Carlton should be focusing on winning to their strengths and impacting, not reacting. Do you know what I mean? Great sides lead, bad sides follow. We should be looking at this and giving Sheasel a hard time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Attacking that flank, giving that job to someone like, who needs this job? Someone like Josh Honey or Fisher. And someone needs to get into Fisher and say, give him a problem. Give this first. Because at the moment, Sheasel hasn't defended. And when he has defended, you've seen susceptibility because he is a natural high half forward. So for me, I'm not worried. I mean, I think for me, the midfield battle, we should win that. We've beaten better midfields than this. Sure. I don't care LDU's having a good year. I mean, he's no Cripps. And then who else have they got? Jai Simpkin.
Cunnington, Simpkin.
Jai Simpkins has had many good games in the last 500 days as Connor's had. Are they? So let's be having it right. He's a good player, but we are now. I want us all to go in. Top 4 mentality. Impact. You saw what Juddy nails it. Proactive, not reactive. Geelong were reactive against Gold Coast. That's what happens. Carlton were reactive in the first quarter to GWS. Once they started to be proactive, you saw the golfing class. And all North can do to win this game is pinch their wingers in, flood the corridor, and take away the easy ball. But Carlton dominant in contested marks. They're pretty good in uncontested marks. Do you know what I mean? They'll get space. This side hemorrhage marks against Carlton's strength. So for me, I like it. Sub, chat, leg dog. Who we picking? I don't mind in this one a little bit of Carroll back under the roof. Back under the roof. Back where he's happy. Give him that 10, 15 minutes.
And I, of course, will be picking Lockie Plowman because he is my boy.
Dear. Lewis.
Mate, did you see him in that game, preseason game against Melbourne last year? Full forward, Lockie Plowman. Did you see the performance he put on? Flexible.
Seeing Lockie Plowman at high half back, I've got to be honest, is turning me on. The guy's turning into prime Dom Sheed.
Did you see him run 75 meters from a kick in the other day? Mate, the guy is in form. I know I'm kind of laughing, but I'm legitimately serious. He would be my selection.
Well, I mean, I'm going Carroll. A lot of Carrolls, some Chincotta love as well. Peter V going that. No spot for Plowman, I'm afraid. You've been told, Bugs Bell. Bugs Bell's told you. I don't mind the Chincotta one. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind the Chincotta one. So, I mean, what are we expecting before we wrap it up? Obviously, 4 quarters. A lot has been made on Carlton's inability, right, to win games. And I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go a bit more in depth tonight on my live with Faz. But I've got a bit of a bugbear here that I want to share with my family, my beautiful Blue Abroad family. You know, when I've got a bee in my bonnet and I'm upset.
I've been waiting
about
for this, by the way, Pom. You've been talking this up, so I'm ready for it.
I get upset. I come to my family, you guys, and you guys cheer me up and say, it's all right, Pom. It's all right. And I need a bit of an all right, Pom. Do you know what I mean? Right. Let's have a look. Here it is. So here you are. So all these numbers you're looking at, right, are the last 2 years. So we've tried to cycle it because it's hard to, when people go, Carlton haven't beaten a side for ages, you've got to look at current administration. You can't go back to Teague because Teague and Bolton, let's be honest, couldn't batter a fish, right? So, right, these are the things, right? So you look at it here, and at the moment, this is sorted by a points allocation. So in sport, what they quite often do is, particularly in golf, when you're breaking down stats, you allocate points. So you try and work with what you can work with to equalize the field. So you can see here, Cats have been allocated 82 points because they've stuffed teams. But notice something about the top 4 sides here. It's Cats, Swans, Demons, and Lions, whose average position has been top 5, right? You look at Carlton, they go down to Carlton. Carlton are right mid-table, but their average league position this year has been 11th. Now, I did hear on the couch say that Pies have beaten sides. If you actually look at Carlton's results, they have battered sides the same. In fact, Carlton to usurp the Pies would only have to win 1 game by 2 points. I'll explain it more on the live tonight, but basically it's a 2.9 rating, which equates to a 28-point win when Carlton win per win, right? Which puts them right in the top 10. And I want to implore people to understand when they're asking for the perfect result. Over the last 2 years, our average ladder position, like I say, has been well outside the 8. Well outside the 8. And most of the top 8 in the last 2 years are averaging a 7th spot. To even think Carlton can jump to win sides, I think is a level of arrogance that this side doesn't deserve. And also the opposition don't deserve that. But Carlton have won comprehensively. Do you know what I mean? When your median and your average wins are 4 goals, which is higher than the AFL average of 22 as a margin, that's still something that you need to be happy about. So it cannot be a concern, worry, fear at all, because the simple facts are Carlton haven't won enough games. What separates us from the top 5 in that chart is they're serial winners. They have been top 5 of that chart for 6-7 years. We, up until that point, were closer to North in that ladder than we were the top thing. So it's a development thing. And I'll ask the question again, based on that chat, what are you looking for? What I am looking for is where it should be in that chart, 6-goal win.
Yeah. Basically, when we win all right. We just haven't won enough games. So I'm with you. Let's win more games and let's keep it going this week, and let's win by that 6-goal margin between us and them. It's not a danger game. I'm telling you that, folks at home. It's not a danger game. And the players, they hear they hear us, they hear the fans. When we get stressed, they get stressed. Don't stress. Be confident. You don't necessarily need to be arrogant, but I would encourage it. But definitely be confident.
Mate, I don't think there is anything negative, and I'll leave you with this. In my opinion, it is clear to a blind man that the 2 most improved sides in the AFL this year are number 1, Collingwood, number 2, Carlton. And the only reason Collingwood are number 1 is what they're doing is really sexy compared to what they were doing last year.
Yeah.
They're battering teams. The difference is Carlton are grinding wins, which percentage talk, ram that where the sun don't shine. If you want to make the 8 with percentage, you are the Bulldogs, who are probably the most disappointing team in the last decade in the AFL. The big thing is winning games. And if Carlton had put 3 games away last year, which they should have won, which they were statistically the better side, they would be in the 8 by 8 points. And that is
Yep.
where good teams are. They don't sneak into finals. There's a reason that statistically the best sides that win flags come from that top 5. It's not the bottom 3 of the 8. So for me, go in, cheer hard, right? Enjoy yourself, cheer hard, and get these boys over the line because Marvel, beautiful day, 4 points on offer. Some places on offer as well, based on the first 3 rounds for some of these gentlemen. Get them over the line, and let's get Adelaide next week.
Plus, it'll be a big day out for the North Melbourne fans. They won't have ever seen a crowd that size. The players will never have played in front of that many people, so it's going to be great for them as well. Good little learning experience for them when we storm in and absolutely take their home game away from them. Go Blues!
Interesting little pom fact. If we win this week as well, it'll be our 100th victory against North Melbourne.
Oh, I like that.
So cheer them to 100. We will be back next week. Much love, everyone. You're all legends in my book. I'll see you on the watch along. Come and say hi to me and Faz tonight. We will be doing a lot of Carlton tonight. Make sure you check out Let Dog on his shows. He does the sexy Jock Reynolds podcast. So if you want to be good at fantasy, listen to Let Dog. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.